An event that seemingly didn't shock Russia, which is used to everything but at least scratched it a bit, is a death in Chechnya. Kadyrov reminded that every nation best understands the language of death. And a corpse is an excellent teacher of respect for authority. Hiding the body, some kind of rebellion, a violator in the dark morgue, is impractical. For this very reason, a 17-year-old boy who attempted the lives of Kadyrov's men was thrown into the square in Achkoy Martan, a small town like that, at the feet of a stunned crowd. Above him, a portrait of Kadyrov, 15 by 5 meters. Of course, with the slogan, Akhmat is power. There was no investigation, no inquiry, no determination of the causes of the incident. And the reasons for the boy's sin, as I understand it, do not particularly interest anyone. He is already guilty for having raised his hand against the authority and its symbols in the form of police officers. The father, brothers, mother, and other relatives of the deceased are decided to be expelled from the Republic. Their house and property will be confiscated. This was clearly and firmly announced by Kadyrov. The Russian prosecutor's office, of course, remains silent, cowardly. The boy still lies there. The boy's name was revealed. Indeed, he was 17 years old. His name was Eskerkan Kumashev. The reasons for this desperate boy's attack on Kadyrov's men in Achkoy Martan are kept strictly confidential. The locals in Achkoy Martan, looking around, whisper that it is politics, that it is a rebellion. And some of the whisperers claim that he was avenging the police for humiliation. A third part claims that violence against his sister played a role. Moscow, of course, remains silent, and it seems even the administrative skin, they are not planning to remove anyone for this. Well, first of all, Moscow. Moscow still fears Chechnya, but now this long-standing, age-old Russian fear of the Chechens is mixed with envy. The Kremlin is practically drooling over the simplicity with which Kadyrov resolves his issues. Undoubtedly, the Kremlin itself would be glad to take, and just like that, throw a dozen foreign agents onto Tverskaya with gouged out eyes and bullet holes. But for now, it hesitates to do so, and in vain. Judging by the level of patriotism, it's already possible. And such a vivid demonstration of the consequences of dissent would probably immediately gather. All the artists, all the writers, and all the glamour there. And everyone would be competing to be happy. A mind-blowing revelry would begin. There, Akliobistin would hop over the corpses like a goat, bursting with joyful cries of Goida. Leps would be there, dripping vodka and saliva on the bodies, performing a glass of blood on the table. And the shaman, squatting, would probably tear a couple of leggings, would have arrived there. And Dugin, the creator of the theory of the Orthodox phonograph, as well as poets, priests, the Council of Harpies on Human Rights, and secular girls with inflatable lips and glow sticks in their paws. And the goodness of all this, I guarantee, would be complete, such that Chechnya could only dream of. Yes. Let's return to Chechnya for a second. Well, I'm watching closely. There, secrecy is maintained regarding the motivation. Eskerkman Kumeshev, and everyone is already talking about both political and family reasons. As for Kadyrov himself, he tried to spin it very clumsily, I must say. He tried to spin the theory about some Ukrainian curators of this whole story, but it's so wild and irrelevant that even in Kadyrov's closest circle, no one supported it. Well, maybe also because there was, of course, no evidence base, not even on him. But we need to note one thing. It's important, despite the fact that the corpse was laid out in the square, not just for show, and not only as a visual aid, the show partly failed. Because among the gathered people who were there to watch, Akhmat members were wandering around, or who, in a low voice, suggested spitting on the corpse. And there were no volunteers needed to spit. But in Russia, on corpses and on agents of the enemies of the people, which could be laid out on Tverskaya, not only would they spit, they would also demonstratively blow their noses, cover them with cigarette butts, and stick chewing gum on their foreheads. And most zealously of all would be the intelligentsia and representatives of this very Council of Harpies for Human Rights. After all, degradation has its own laws. These laws are known. And thus, a spectacle like in Achkoy Martan, in the middle of Moscow, would not only fail to stop this degradation of the intelligentsia, but on the contrary, would spur the processes of decay tenfold of all these melon bread loaves, Fadivs, Rudkovskis. However, this is already clear. They all live in fear, but in fear spread over time, in fear diluted with chatter, worries of theft, and sycophancy. And a good concentrated shock dose of fear, it will cause a frenzied acceleration of the ongoing processes of degradation. But everything is still ahead. In this sense, Russia has a very, very big future.